Hey, what's up, folks? Welcome back to On Texas Football, and I'm lifetime Longhorn Rod Davis. Pleased to be joined by fellow lifetime Longhorn, the young prodigy C.J. Vogel. And on this special edition of On Texas Football, we want to break down the quarterback comparison between the starting quarterback for the Aggies, Marcel Reed, who's had a fantastic, some would say Heisman Trophy-esque campaign so far for the undefeated Aggies, and of course Arch Manning, who got all the preseason hype, but as of late his play has actually started to match some of those preseason expectations. So we'll get into that and break it down. Before we do, let's thank our sponsor, our friends over at Von Lane. We appreciate Von Lane being a part of the On Texas Football family this fall. Travel is picking up. Weekend getaways, business trips, and holiday visits are on everyone's schedule and everyone's mind. But for Longhorn fans, hey, there's one destination that stands out. Of course, it's Austin. You got the Texas A&M game coming up this weekend. You also you got holiday travel plans coming up. And if you're headed out of town, you go see family on business as well, you can reach out to our friends over at Von Lane, the smartest way to get anywhere you need to go. Step aboard and skip the stress of the airport experience and grind of the highways. You don't want to deal with all the stress of all the road rage and all the traffic. Don't forget about that. With terminals just minutes from your final destination, Von Lane redefines comfort and convenience. Each luxury coach offers only 22 first-class seats with Wi-Fi, snacks, beverages, hot towel service, and on select trips, complimentary meals. And folks, as well, you'll arrive relaxed and refreshed and ready to kick off any event or plan that you have with our friends over at Von Lane. So you can book with them at vonlane.com. Save $20 on your first trip with Von Lane by using the code OTF25. Elevated regional travel with Von Lane, serving Austin, Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, Fort Worth, Plano, the Woodlands, Nashville, Memphis, Atlanta, and Knoxville. All right, let's get right to it, CJ. There's been a lot of talk about these two quarterbacks. First off, who do you think has been more impressive so far this season? Is it just easy? The quarterback that's led the undefeated team coming into this matchup has been more impressive. What are your thoughts about the straight-up comparison between the two?
Yeah, you talk about more impressive. Look, wins are a team stat, right? And both quarterbacks have been very important to each team's success or shortcomings. Obviously, for Texas, there have been some days where Arch Manning hasn't been great. You've also seen some moments for Marcel Reed where he's not been great. Let me get this out ahead of time. I think Marcel's been one of the more impressive players in the SEC this year, especially from what we saw a year ago where the forward pass wasn't necessarily a big strength of his. Now he's doing a fine job getting the ball where it needs to go in a timely fashion. Of course, that's the job of the quarterback. Protect the football, get the ball where it needs to go, and allow your playmakers to get going with the ball in their hands. If I had to pick one of the two quarterbacks to be the quarterback of my team, I'm picking Arch Manning, especially with what I've seen over the last 4 games, where Arch has 14 total touchdowns, 2 interceptions, averaging 330 yards through the air. That's the quarterback I'm choosing in a solo ball game. Not to say Marcel's not a great quarterback, or I'll say Heisman contender. I don't know if I believe that myself, Rod, but other folks got a shot. But altogether, he's been very impressive, and he's taken the steps ahead that A&M needed this year. And evidently, he's been a big reason, not the sole reason, but a big reason why A&M is undefeated coming into this game on Friday night.
Yeah, I think there were a lot of folks that didn't think he was capable of taking that next step, and there's no doubt that he has. And I'm with you, he's a big reason why the Aggies are still undefeated. One of the ways, and I think, honestly, you can make an argument that there's no award for it, but I think he could be the most improved player in the country in a lot of respects. What I like is what he's done under pressure. So far in 2024 under pressure. He was a liability, and a lot of quarterbacks are under pressure in 2024. 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. I think he was like 4 yards per attempt, a 39% completion percentage. That has improved dramatically in 2025. And under against the blitz as well in 2025. I think he's got 14 touchdowns, only 1 interception, averaging almost 9 yards per attempt. That number in 2024 was 6 yards per attempt, 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. So he's a much better quarterback under pressure, making better decisions under pressure. Doesn't mean he's perfect, not at all. But still, I think that's a big part of where his game has improved. And honestly, I've seen a little bit of the clutch gene in big moments. I mean, there's no doubt getting down with 30-3 in that South Carolina game. He made some big plays to bring his team back. That drive in the Notre Dame game, the go-ahead touchdown game-winning drive, that was big too for his team. So I think you're starting to see some of those intangibles as well from Marcel Reed that could, point to them making a historic run here for the Aggies. Obviously, hoping that the Longhorns spoil that, but if he comes out and is the best version of himself, and Longhorns will be trying to obviously keep that from happening, I could definitely see them winning this game because it's a dangerous combination when Marcel Reed's playing at a high level and everything's clicking on offense.
Yeah, definitely. And again, that goes back to what I was trying to mention earlier is A&M has got some fantastic playmakers around him. And I think Reed does a fine job of, one, finding and targeting Mario Craver and Casey Concepcion, right? The two of them combined have 99 receptions on the year. I believe it's 52 and 47 respectively. No one else on that team has more than 20. So it's easier said than done, and I don't expect anybody in the country to be able to do so. But if you're able to limit those two, then we're really going to have to see where Reed and that A&M offense go, right? And so that's going to be really interesting on Friday, excuse me. We saw Texas against Arkansas try to deploy more man coverage, Rod. And look, I don't think man coverage, especially on some bunch formation, some crossing routes, some misdirection with the lightning quick guys that they have, is going to be a suitable option for the Longhorns. But to your point about Marcel Reed, and again, this is where I'm seeing the growth. They're tailoring that offense to his strength, and it's play actions. It's a lot of moving some of the pocket, find the short routes to allow guys that get going. The one game to me that really stands out, look, they had a 20-point win on the road in against Missouri, right? Was it 38-17?
Mm-hmm.
They completed only 3 passes beyond the line of scrimmage. They only attempted 3 passes beyond the line, 10 yards downfield.
Wow.
Everything else was within 10 yards. Everything else was behind the line of scrimmage. And that's kind of where I'm the most terrified if I'm Texas. I don't want the idea of, Craver, Concepcion getting a head start and allowing them to work in space. I thought Texas did a great job against Zachariah Branch in Georgia. The problem is, you start dealing with some of these tight ends. You allow the vertical routes to get there. That's where the miscommunication for Texas has proven to be over the last few weeks. But these guys, anything completed over the next 20 or the 20 yards or so, it might as well be 40 or 60 because the minute they get some space and a full head of steam, it's tough to catch any of them.
Yeah, and to your point about the weapons around him, that's almost the argument that works against Marcel Reed in the quarterback comparison with Arch because of the advantages that the Aggies have in this matchup. The truth is, the O-line is better than Arch's O-line. The Aggie receiving core is better than the Texas receiving core. The running back room right now is more productive and better than that Texas running back room. So you see advantages all across the offense and similar, similar productivity. I don't say similar, but at least on par with each other. And to me, that's why I know I'm a little bit of a bias here, but I'm going to pick Arch too in that comparison just because I think he's dealt with more adversity. I think he's had more to overcome, still more to overcome, even though everybody's improved offensively. Marcel Reed has had dynamic weapons around him, and that offensive line, it's one of the best in the country. I mean, you're talking about a top 10 unit in the country. So, yeah, he has that luxury of having that, but also I think in this discussion, to me, it works against him because Arch is pretty much, in my opinion, has had to overcome liability after liability at times, whether it be the receivers dropping passes or whether it be the offensive line can't pass protect, or the lack of a running game, whatever it is. It's the identity of the offense, as my man Jeff House says, is Arch Manning. And I don't necessarily think that's the case. Marcel Reed is part of the engine that keeps that thing going. But I don't know if they would say, oh, no, he's the identity because you got so many other great players on that offense.
No, I completely agree. And I've said this before. I think he's nos to a sports car, to a race car, right? He's not the engine. He's not the wheels. He's the added accessory that makes it go a little bit faster. And I don't think that's disrespectful because, look, if you're trying to win a race or win a game, that's a big piece of it, right? It adds that extra element, but it's not functional to getting the car from the starting line to the finish line. And for Arch, I think he's the wheels. I think he's the steering wheel. I think he's the transmission, the fuselage. I think he's everything, right? And he's had to be at most points of the year this season. to your point, I don't see that from Marcel Reed. And again, I don't think that's necessarily a knock. It's just you've got yourself quite a football team. And again, a big part of being a quarterback, especially in the SEC, is just simply not messing it up.
Yeah.
And Marcel Reed's done a great job of not doing that so far this year.
One of the things you talked about was how they've done a really good job, Colin Klein and company, of tailoring the offense, to his skill set, to the strengths of Marcel Reed. You had some just mind-blowing play action numbers, and this kind of goes to how that offense it does work as a kind of well-oiled, well-rounded machine. The run game has really fueled the play action element of this offense and taking it to another level, maybe one of the best in the country.
No, I think so. And that's the big fear, right? Coming into the season was A&M's offensive line. They return a lot. They got a lot of experience, Rod. It's going to be a big strength of the team. And when you look at a healthy Le'Veon Moss, I know he's missed a lot of the year, but Reuben Owens, E.J. Smith, and how the young freshmen, they really like him out there in College Station. Well, then you start to play action pass and kind of utilize what Colin Klein did at Kansas State was very dangerous, was a mobile quarterback that can get out of the pocket, find the tight end, or find a crossing route to some of their wide receivers. Here's Marcel Reed in play action this year. 16 touchdowns to 1 interception, 74% completion. Pretty darn good.
Wow.
On the contrary, Rod, whenever you just have Marcel Reed drop back into pass, you see a lot of what you saw in the first half against South Carolina. He was 6 of 19 in that game. There was an interception in the red area. There probably should have been 3 or 4 if South Carolina was on the jugs machines at all in defensive practices, but that's why they're playing defense anyways. In straight dropbacks this year, 9 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, 55% completion. Yards per attempt also decreased by about 4 when not in play action. So you sit there, you make him evaluate the field, go 1, 2 to 3 to check down. You're probably going to get a hand or two on a pass, more so because of timing. I think he's late at times over the middle. But look, it doesn't matter, because if that run game gets going, then how do you stop Texas A&M? I don't know, because the play action opens up immediately.
Yeah, and to that point also, and at least according to Sports Info Solutions, they also the top 5 in RPO plays right now. They're averaging 7.4 yards per play on RPOs. Kind of going back to what you're saying as well, just that deception-based passing. And we're talking about play action. When you're talking about RPOs, you have to stop their run game, and you have to allocate so much of your resources to stop their run game. And if you are doing that, it leaves you vulnerable on the back end, the second and the third level. Also, combined with that, the deep ball has also been a weapon for the Aggies this year. Give Marcel Reed some props. He's completing now 39% of his deep balls over 20 yards or more down the field. Last season, that was around 27%. So he's improved there. He's got 43 passes of 20 yards or more on the season, which is also one of the, I think, second in the SEC right now. So the explosive play factor, I think, is going to be big in this game. Can Texas limit the explosive plays in the passing game with Concepcion and Craver on the outside, and with Marcel Reed taking those shots a lot of the time off of play action, like you brought up too?
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Ashton Bethel-Roman, I know we talk a lot about Concepcion and Craver. Bethel-Roman is a guy that you need to be aware of when he goes vertical. 25 yards per reception, Rod. It's pretty darn good if you ask me. But I did want to get your thoughts on Marcel Reed's legs. We talk about that.
Oh, yeah.
How great an athlete he is. Obviously, he kind of took the SEC by storm last year when he diced up LSU. Well, he diced up LSU again this year, but his legs really haven't been that big of a piece of the pie for the A&M offense. He only has actually, 3 games right now, over 50 yards rushing this season. One of them was a UTSA, the season opener, obviously. Utah State in the season opener. Obviously, he did it again to LSU, over 100 yards there. LSU can't stop the quarterback run to save anybody's life. And then the week right before LSU, he put 55 up against Arkansas. But we all know that Arkansas is not great, right? We just saw them firsthand. But I want to, get your thoughts, because that obviously is not a guy that you can sit back, relax on, and just assume he's not going to take off, considering he hasn't done a lot this year. In comparison, only 7th most rushing yards by a quarterback in the SEC this year.
Yeah, but the fact that it's a part of his repertoire And we've seen him make some big plays scrambling. That's what I worry about. I think he's averaging over 8 yards per rush just on scrambles. And that's why I worry about him most. I think they will utilize, just after watching the Arkansas game, why not utilize some of that quarterback run game? But remember, early on in the season, they were pass heavy. Early on in the season, they were passing a lot. And I think ultimately it kind of helped him develop as a player, kind of that he developed as a passer, a guy that can hurt you from the pocket. I'm worried because Texas doesn't have access, or at least we don't know if they'll have access to all the spies they need, the versatility of spies they need to neutralize him as a scrambler. Anthony Hill's great at that. Not sure about Anthony Hill. That's probably going to be a game time decision. Anthony Smith not going to be available for the first half because of the targeting penalty. You need your safeties got to be big in terms of spies. Jelani McDonald can help you out with that as well.
Got to tackle in space. Yeah,
Trey Moore, but you're right. He's a guy that can beat you to the edge if you take the wrong angle. So that's what I worry about. I worry about him as a scrambler. Design runs. I think PK has done a decent job. I say that right after that Arkansas game where Arkansas lit you up in the first half on design quarterback runs. So take that with a grain of salt. If A&M's smart, and I know Colin Klein is, you will see quarterback design runs. The read option, you're going to see it early in that game just to see if Texas has found solutions for it. But I do worry about when the play breaks down. And Texas, if they do decide to play a little bit more man-to-man, which they did versus Arkansas, that backs will be turned to the quarterbacks. You end up with one-on-ones in the open field, potentially without an Anthony Hill. That could be a disastrous situation. So him as a scrambler when the play breaks down, that is that gives me anxiety, no doubt.
Yeah, a little bit. Read option, speed option. I know that Arkansas tried both, even some triple option in there as well. Texas didn't do a great job of that back in the Big 12 against Kansas specifically. Jason Bean comes to mind.
Remember that.
Look, I wonder if that's a wrinkle A&M throws into this game just as a, hey, we've been watching some tape. So it's going to be interesting. So I'm with you, Rod. Got to contain the quarterback. And then, hey, if you're able to sit back and force him into reading the pocket downfield, or reading a defense downfield inside the pocket, I think that plays more into the strength of the Texas defense than what A&M would like to do.
I would say, strange enough, when I watched I got a chance to watch some of the film of South Carolina, because you made a great point the other day. You said, hey, South Carolina provides a really good blueprint for Texas because they got those edges that South Carolina's got. They got really good edge guys. I looked at Auburn game too, because Auburn held them to their lowest point total of the season. And I was a little surprised how much they challenged the wide receivers, both Auburn and South Carolina. I was surprised how much they challenged the wide receivers, playing some press, but they didn't play a lot of loose coverage. I mean, they got beat too. They rolled the dice, but they didn't play a lot of loose. So I think they were trying to take away some of those quick early reads from Marcel Reed, no pun intended.
That's interesting.
I think they were trying to take some of that away. And sometimes it bit them in the face because they would decide, we're taking them deep on this because we got one-on-one or they're playing press. Yeah, so exactly. But I do wonder if Texas, kind of keeping with that trend, I know they've looked at the teams that have been able to hold this offense, and not many have. Those teams were aggressive at playing, and they challenged those wide receivers. Even though they got beat, they still challenged them. And I think part of that is make Marcel Reed hold on to the ball. Try to make them hold on to the ball and have to get through a progression or two. And if you do that, the belief is your pass rush, if you got a good one, South Carolina did, or a good D-line, which Auburn did, we'll be able to get home and penetrate, and then they can compress the pocket. And like you said, you'd like that to come from the gut, from the interior gaps, and it does. It gets him off his mark, and you can collapse the pocket on top of him. That's the goal. Easier said than done. And trust me,
took the words out of my mouth.
Yeah, right. And they still got beat trying to do it. Like I said, you're going to get beat trying to do it, but is that the best recipe overall to decide, no, we can't play scared against this group, and the bend but don't break and go work because they got too many weapons. We have to kind of, in a tactical fashion, decide what we're going to take away from down to down. And sometimes we're going to take away the easy read and the easy completion away from him. And I think that's what they did sometimes.
I think you're absolutely on to something. And again, easier said than done. But hey, we've kind of laid out what we believe to be the blueprint to slowing down the A&M offense and stymieing Marcel Reed. So hey, no one's been able to do it completely yet. Let's see if Texas can do it.
Exactly. Good stuff, CJ. Appreciate you as always. Thank you to our friends over at Von Lane. Again, we appreciate them and their ongoing support of On Texas Football. Thank you guys for watching and for listening. And for CJ, I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers. Until next time, hook 'em horns.
Hook 'em.